Get ready for the countdown.
10.
Those who do evil to others, the killers, the rapists, psychos, sadists, you'll come to know me well. Frank Castle is dead. Call me the Punisher.
So number 10, we chose, or agreed upon, Thomas Jane as the Punisher, as Frank Castle as the Punisher.
And everybody out there is probably just like, what?
Yeah.
Which I kind of agree with you on, because I was not behind this choice to be in a top 10
she was
list.
a little hesitant about putting him on this list, but then I kind of convinced her to put him on there, just because I feel like that this movie was very underrated when it comes to comic book movies. It entertained me. I thought he looked like the Punisher. I thought
the action scenes were really good. Looking back on it, but we're not talking really about the movie as a whole. We're talking about him as a character. And if you watch some of the scenes, I actually saw this movie recently, and the scene where Frank Castle is getting attacked by the Russian, I think it's Kevin Nash.
It's Kevin Nash.
Yeah, Kevin Nash. He was wearing a Popeye shirt or something.
Big Daddy Cool.
Yeah. He just and it's just so fun. The whole scene is so fun.
They got opera music in the background, I think.
Yeah. And then his apartment mates are loudly
is
that
Ben
they
Foster's one of the apartment mates? Remember?
Yeah, he is.
Ben Foster's in there. And then Rebecca Romaine. I think she's in that movie. I'm not sure if it's her. But anyway, I think that, Thomas Jane was able to, portray the type of emotion, in the beginning scene where his whole family is murdered.
Yeah.
And just, I feel like he was able to, give off the right type of emotion that I was looking for in the Punisher. And that you can actually believe in the character and believe that, this... he's destined for revenge. Or not revenge, but vengeance.
Yeah. Looking at it a second time, I think Thomas Jane did a really good job.
And if we were probably having a not so top 10 list, then John Travolta would probably make that list, which is in this movie too. Remember John Travolta in the movie?
Yeah, I remember John Travolta in this movie.
But yeah, and then in terms of what he wears and how he suits up, it's pretty spot on. It's not hard to portray the Punisher in terms of clothing. You got a black shirt with the white skull, and just ammoed up to the brim. But he looked like him.
He talked like him. He walked like him. He showed his story really well. He was able to, like Tony said, have those super badass and kick-ass scenes and moments like that, but in the beginning have that really emotional reaction to sort of this huge thing that's changed his life forever. I thought he was pretty convincing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to end up reviewing this movie sooner or later on our...
It is underrated. I agree. It is definitely underrated.
All right, so that's number 10. Let's go ahead and get to...
Number 9.
9.
How'd you get inside that cloud?
Also, how could you eat an entire box of Pop-Tarts and still be this hungry?
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Chris Hemsworth as Thor of Asgard. So this is another one we kind of disagreed on. I thought he should have been on this list, definitely, but Tony thought, not so much. But
the only reason...
Go ahead.
The only reason I think that, I didn't really believe that he should be on the list is because, I feel like he got outshined in his own movie by a different character that we'll get to eventually.
And you know what? I can see where that's coming from. But if you take a look at him in his movies and as a character, he is Thor.
Yeah, I'm not
physically, just everything about him is Thor. He was perfect. They couldn't have casted somebody else to play this role. The way he speaks, just so Shakespearean and just so eloquent, and the relationship that he has with Loki, and just how cocky and arrogant he is in the beginning, and then it's just he's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh God,
so what did you think about his costume in terms of costuming?
You know what? I really liked his costume, and I'm really glad they decided not to give him the headpiece.
Yeah, does he wear it at one point in either the first movie or The Dark World?
I don't think so.
Ooh, I'm trying to think if they actually have him in it.
But it's just super stylized. It's like I love the flowy red cape, like, and his body is just godlike. Really.
Thor's always been a character that I've loved in terms of like, he's got the red cape and he's pretty much the Superman of Marvel. But they fly in very different ways. Thor winds up Mjolnir, which is his hammer, and he throws it.
Really, you pronounced the J? I thought it was silent.
Well, people say it different ways.
Yeah, it's kind of okay.
But so he uses that to fly. He doesn't actually fly. He pretty much uses the hammer to travel around, which I think is an awesome concept. But in terms of Chris Hemsworth, yeah, he played it. He played it well. He had the aloof kind of charm.
And like in the Avengers, when you saw him interact with everybody on the team, like it was really fun to see him and like Iron Man, interact with each other. And his scenes with the Hulk are just so fucking awesome because they're so strong in their own ways. Oh, he was really good.
And he is pretty buff too. He did buff up for the part. Do you want to say anything else about Chris Hemsworth as Thor as number 9?
No.
All right, let's get on to the next one.
He's just perfect.
8.
The real enemy is out there. I feel their guns moving on the water, targeting us. Go ahead, Charles. Tell me I'm wrong.
Eric, you said yourself, we're the better men. This is the time to prove it. There are thousands of men on those ships. They're just following orders.
I've been at the mercy of men just following orders. Never again.
Next, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, X-Men First Class, and Days of Futures Past.
Which we both haven't seen yet, but we'll probably...
Very excited to see it soon.
Yeah, and I've heard that, by the way, that Quicksilver is awesome in the movie,
Somebody told me that.
I mean, our post about it on Epic Comic Cast and Epic Comic Picks, it was basically about
merely
the costume
about his
only.
wig. Yeah,
it was about the wig. It wasn't about, we think this character is going to be shitty.
Yeah, no, I have complete faith in
awesome.
The actor to give a really good performance, but just on costume alone. Anyways, Michael Fassbender as Magneto. You know what? I didn't know whether I should choose Fassbender or Serena McKellen because I just love both those actors so much, but watching X-Men First Class really surprised me because I really didn't think that I was going to like it. But one of the main reasons why I did like it was because of this casting. What do you think?
I think he was good for Magneto. I liked how you can really believe that that him and young Charles were actually like really good friends, and it comes across when watching the movie that you really cared, that these two people really cared a lot about each other, and they were really like BFFs at one point. And the way Magneto, even
though they have such contrasting ideologies when it came to mutants and humans, like the way Fassbender just shows his disdain for the human race and is just absolute certain that mutants are on a completely different level and that they're superior in every way. It just, oh god, his speeches, the way he talks so eloquently, and the way he's able to command everybody's attention and become the leader, it's amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, and then also his helmet was badass.
His helmet was badass.
In the movie, he had was it silver and black to begin with, or it wasn't black? It was more of a gray.
Yeah.
But it was the classic Magneto helmet from the comics, basically. And at the end of First Class, you got to see the red or the burgundy. The burgundy helmet come out, and he referred to himself as Magneto, and the way he said it, was pretty awesome.
And it's excellent casting too, because if you have Serena McKellen in the previous films, and you think about Serena McKellen younger, you get Michael Fassbender. It's perfect. I loved it.
Yeah, and even what's it called? Do you want to talk about Charles now, or do you want to leave that later? Xavier.
I think Professor. Okay. Also, yeah, we were thinking of whether putting Professor Xavier on this list. He'll actually probably be. I'm not even gonna tell you. But I think James McAvoy did a really good job with Professor Xavier. 2.
That was the actor's name?
Yeah, James McAvoy.
Oh, okay.
You know, not to take any attention away from this is Fassbender's number. He is our number 8 best. But yeah, like this movie completely, you know, blew me away in terms of what I was expecting.
And it makes us excited, you know, for watching the, you know,
Days of Futures Past. The fact that they're taking 2, you know, completely different, you know, like casts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like putting them together in like a movie
So
where
you
it showcases the old and the new.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's so cool. I don't think that's been done before.
The time traveling aspect is going to open up a lot for X-Men franchise.
Yeah, that's a completely genius idea, genius. And like even in First Class, when you get the cameo of Wolverine, even like that to me was just like, oh, cool. You know, remember when Hugh Jackman is at the bar, right? And now they're going to be in a movie, you know, together and they're time traveling. I haven't seen it yet, but I have really high hopes for this movie and I hope it doesn't disappoint me.
All right, so that's our number 8.
7,
Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man! Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man!
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Michael Keaton as Batman. Batman and Batman Returns.
So,
now,
do you want to talk about how it's not Bale and it's Keaton first?
Yeah. We thought a lot about this, and definitely I think Keaton, there was just something about the way that he played this character that made him just so much more likable as Batman, as Bruce Wayne, rather than Bale. And whether he was in the Batsuit or, you know, when he was just regular Bruce Wayne, like Keaton is just he's a charming, but he was also brooding. He was serious, but he had little, you know, he had quips. Like
he was funny.
He was funny. Like, yeah, you know, the movies are, you know, they're take them for what they are, but just as a whole character, I feel like he embodied, you know, the more of the Batman that I love.
And he was one of the first, you know, castings where people were like, no, he was Mr. Mom, and no way.
Like they thought he couldn't pull it off because of his previous roles. And he was just perfect. Like his relationship with like Kim Basinger like was stupid because she didn't really need to be in the movie at all. But
his bad voice was, you know, spot on. You know, he didn't
his bad voice was perfect. And just like the way he interacted with like Alfred, and just he was just so charming. And then when he was in the Batsuit, you know, he kicked ass. Bale to me, he worked for the hyper stylized like realness of the movies of the Nolanverse. It did work. Like I'm not saying that he wasn't a successful Batman. I'm just saying that personally we liked Keaton more.
And the reason Bale's not on here for me is because Bale's voice sounded like he was gargling rocks the whole time, and as soon as he would talk, it would throw me out of the movie. It would pick me up and launch me out of the movie.
Yeah,
it was like, what the hell?
It was something
this?
that nobody could ignore. You're just trying to get into it, and he starts talking, and it's just like he.
It's not that
Yeah, it's not that he was not convincing. It's just that voice.
Yeah.
And that had a lot to do with me not really.
What's up with Nolan voices? I mean, Bane's voice too. I mean, a lot of people thought it was like Kevin Smith
clever contrast to his.
Talks about on his podcast that he likes Bane's voice and that it makes him seem like more menacing because it's so like out of the ordinary coming from a man like him. But to me, it threw me out of the movie too. It sounded like Scrooge McDuck talking to us, and it was very hard to understand. Also, Bale's bad voice is very hard to understand.
They had in the first, I think it was the first trailer of The Dark Knight, they had the original voice they were going to use for Bane, and they said that it was too unclear and it was like almost inaudible or something like that, and then they changed it to like a more clear Scrooge McDuck
Did they use
kind
like
of voice.
But
that inaudible
auto tuner before?
No, but I remember hearing his voice for the first time when it was like kind of unclear, and I was like, that's freaking perfect, you know? Like, I was like, that is awesome. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, why is it so different than that first trailer? I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah, they said that it was too unclear of what he was saying, so they had to change it. But I much more preferred that Bane voice than the one we got.
Let's not turn this into like a Nolan bashing. Let's more talk about, Keaton and why he's here. What about Keaton's bat suit?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was more the classic Batman
Keaton
suit.
was also, you gotta understand that Keaton was also the Batman that we grew up with. It has a lot to do.
Yeah, but that would make us biased.
Hey, that's what it is. Keaton was the Batman that we grew up with. So when we were kids and we watched these movies, he was the face to Batman when it came to movies. That's what it was.
But we're not just merely basing our opinions just because.
Yeah, no, that's just something that I think that we should say, because, and you know what, like, kids today, they grow up, they watch the the Nolan trilogy. Christian Bale is Batman to them.
It's their Batman.
It's their Batman. So it has a lot to do with when these movies were released, and
but once they get
the
older,
effect they have on you was as a young
once they get older
kid.
And once they have some perspective, then they can judge Batman against Batman.
Yeah, we've seen other renditions of this person, and we still think that Batman was it for us, and a lot of people out there might not agree, and they may say that get with the times, change is inevitable, and that's cool too. We're not saying that we did not like Christian Bale's Batman. We really did, but we just, if we're doing a best list,
I didn't. So
okay,
don't love me in that.
We're not gonna bash Christian Bale because that's just not what we do here. Okay.
No, I'll go ahead and bash him. Did you like him? Did you
as
like
Batman?
Christian Bale's Batman?
Yes, I think Christian Bale's an amazing actor. Some of his.
I mean, I liked The Prestige. I liked what other?
He just gets so enveloped in his role.
I like him as an actor.
American
Psycho. Like him as Batman. But anyway,
okay, well, that's our number 7, Michael Keaton. Now let's get on to the next one.
6.
Whatever life holds in store for me, I will never forget these words. With great power comes great responsibility. This is my gift, my curse. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man.
Our number 6 is Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Spider-Man 1, 2, and not 3, because 3 doesn't exist to us.
Yeah.
So,
you mean jazz flutes, or was it jazz flute Spidey where he's dancing in the jazz club?
Oh,
you want to forget about that
stupid freaking scene? That movie was
it
so
reminded me
stupid.
of Anchorman and Will Ferrell.
Oh yeah, I'm totally not prepared. That movie was so freaking
go ahead
stupid.
About Tobey.
Okay, yes, Tobey Maguire. I think, what year did the first Spider-Man come out? It was like 2002, right?
I don't know,
it was
but Nickelback had their hit around that time. The Hero.
Oh yeah, I love that song. It was
your favorite song for a while.
I love that song. I saw this movie in the theater, as a kid, and like we said with Batman, it's like growing up. Like, I think I was 12 or something like that. Like, this was my Spider-Man, and you know what? Like,
the comic book movie to
start this whole comic book movie thing, because before we had like the Batmans, and they were kind of getting less and less popular because you had
they were getting
stupid,
more and more campy.
Yeah, because they were getting more and more stupid. So yeah, people were starting to take these movies less and less seriously, and then Spider-Man comes out and it just completely blows everybody away. It smashes the box office. Like, it has a even huger sequel. And as a character, yeah, a lot of people say that, this Tobey Maguire didn't have like the sharpness or like the wit or like the like the jokes that the
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Yeah, or we'll talk about him in a second, but it didn't have that sort of thing that Spider-Man has in like the comics and the TV show.
He was more of like the innocent, smart.
Tobey Maguire played the nerd character so well. Like, I remember the scene where he's trying to take a picture of like Mary Jane, and he's just like, oh, okay, and then she hears something else, and she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, wait, well, hold on, wait, I'm not done. Like, he doesn't even have the balls
the bashful,
to say,
clumsy,
yeah, he's so
nerd.
cute. Oh my gosh, he was so cute. And the whole scenes where he's transitioning to learning, his abilities and and trying to figure out life as Spider-Man now is so entertaining. And I think he shocked a lot of people with his performance and
I think
the
when
success of this film.
Yeah, when he was cast, like, not everybody was not like, oh, you know what, this is horrible. They were actually, oh, okay, oh, I can see this. Let's see how he's gonna do with it. And what did you think about the costume? I mean, the costume is what made Spider-Man, and the way special effects have advanced over the years, they could actually pull off, like a web-slinging Spider-Man and actually make it seem realistic. So I thought the costume was excellent in terms of how it looked. You had the eyes that were reflective.
And also, we might be biased in the fact that we grew up with, these heroes, and, Andrew Garfield's coming in and he's trying to, make these movies his own and make the role his own. And we're not saying that his portrayal of Spider-Man is bad. I think it's not as good as Tobey Maguire's personally, because Andrew Garfield to me is just too serious. Like, he tries to be jokey Spider-Man and witty Spider-Man and do all that thing, but she's trying too hard. And and I know that might be unpopular, but he's too cool. You know what I mean? Like, he's just too cool. He's too good looking.
He's not believable that he's a nerd.
Yeah, like, he's too
the way
cool.
you see him in high school, he's got, the skateboard. He's supposed to be like a punk. No, not a punk emo kid, but a hipster,
like,
almost.
Just like a broody, like, he's way too cool to be, perceived that way.
It's not believable that he's going to be like some nerd.
And also, in the first Spider-Man, it's like, when he finds out that he does, in the Andrew Garfield one, when he finds out that he does have his powers, absolutely, he does nothing to try and conceal that from people. Like, he's showing off, all of the time he's showing off, and that's something that I didn't like. And like the whole, like, the cockiness that came with that Andrew Garfield, like, portrayed, I didn't like. I was like, where's my sweet, like, conceal, your identity and your abilities to protect the people around you, Tobey Maguire type of character,
Yeah, do you want to kind of talk about Tobey Maguire's acting? I know he's been in a lot of good movies, I think
he's a good actor.
Pleasantville, Seabiscuit, just movies where he needed, like, emotional movies.
Yeah.
And you've seen the emotion come out, especially when he was talking to Aunt May in that one scene.
When he was telling her that he was the reason why.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that whole scene, too, with Uncle Ben, I still think, like, it still makes me cry. And I was, like, 12 when I saw it. And you could just really it was an amazing scene. It was done right with the right actors. And Tobey Maguire will be Spider-Man to me always. I'll watch the new, the Amazing Spider-Man, but I don't think I have yet to have that sort of emotional reaction to anything Andrew Garfield has done with the role.
I mean, we do have, criticisms, I do anyway, towards the first Spider-Man franchise, because it wasn't perfect at all.
No, it wasn't. But see, I don't think it wasn't trying to be, it was like you said, it was like one of the first, new comic book.
But one of the main, things that people say about this movie or the Spider-Man franchise is that it was just too emotional, and there was like a lot of crying, especially in the third movie. But it was just like,
we don't talk about the third movie.
I know, but even in the first and second,
we don't talk about
Spider-Man was just too emo in terms of, Tobey Maguire just being overly emotional.
I don't think he was overly emotional. I don't think he was. I mean,
well, agree to disagree.
He's like a teenage kid. He's going through some stuff,
Yeah.
And you know what? The sequel I enjoyed more than than the first, and that rarely happens with movies.
The Doc Ock one?
Yeah, Doc Ock, and just, I don't know. It was just, the action was good. Everybody was casted well, despite, Kirsten Dunst. She bothered me, but she didn't bother me too much. But I don't know. I thought
the first...
And Willem Dafoe? Are you kidding me? Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin was awesome. Oh my God, he was so good.
What was I gonna say? Oh, And I thought the first Gwen Stacy was hotter than what's her name, the new one.
Oh yeah, Tony doesn't like Emma Stone.
I thought Bryce Dallas Howard was freaking hot.
I don't know why you don't like Emma Stone.
I don't like Emma Stone because I think she tries too hard to
She would be a good. I feel like she would be a good Mary Jane, honestly, with her red hair.
Well, that's not who she was casted for.
Yeah, I know.
So, but anyway, Tobey Maguire. Yes. What number was he? What number are we on?
He was number 6.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to number 5.
5.
Is not this simpler? Is this not your natural state? It's the unspoken truth of humanity that you crave subjugation. The bright lure of freedom diminishes your life's joy in a mad scramble for power, for identity. You were made to be ruled. In the end, you will always kneel.
Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Thor, The Avengers, and Thor: The Dark World.
Master of Mischief.
Oh, he's so awesome. I loved it. Why do we pick him as our number 5 pick?
Loki. I picked Loki, or I'm the one who mentioned him in the first place. You haven't even thought about Loki.
Oh, please. I was going to have him on here.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, so Loki, I mean, what am I saying? I'm calling him Loki, and it's Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah,
but,
he just completely embodied the character.
Yeah, he embodied the character.
It's really hard to outshine Chris Hemsworth as Thor. It's hard, but guess what? He does it. It's like on screen, who do you watch? You watch Loki, who's this like frail, Brit. I think, isn't he British, the actor?
Good question.
Yeah, as opposed to like this Australian super god with these rippling muscles, and you're watching Loki instead.
Physically, no match for Thor.
Yeah, you're watching
mentally,
Loki instead.
Thor has that soft spot in his heart for Loki because they are stepbrothers and they did grow up together. And Loki always preys on that, and you can tell just by looking at Loki's face that he's always up to something mischievous. He's got that look about him, like he's Tom
Hiddleston,
he's a trickster.
Yeah, and Tom Hiddleston does it perfectly,
the way his mannerisms, like the way he talks. Did you ever see that clip of him? It was on YouTube. He was at that Marvel conference where he came out in character and he spoke to the audience as Loki.
Yeah.
You ever see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Like, he just commands the room when he walks out. Everyone started clapping, going crazy. They're like,
oh my God, he's so perfect. I cannot say enough good things about him. Even in the Avengers, when he was up against like really big names. I mean, Tony Stark, the Hulk, Thor and Captain America and all these people.
Yeah.
And he was just able to hold his own as a villain against all of those superheroes. And every time he was on screen, it was like a treat. Even though we had all these treats already, he was on screen, it was still like...
I liked his interaction with Black Widow when he was like being held captive.
Yeah.
And then she was like trying to trick him and get information out of him. And he was like they were playing back and forth.
And then he was just like, you brought the monster. And she was like, huh. His plan is to unleash the Hulk. Right? It was just so cool.
Yeah. And then outfit-wise, straight off the comic book.
Reindeer games. Remember? Tony Stark calls him.
I didn't get that joke.
Reindeer games? Like the movie? Because he had his reindeer thing, his reindeer looking.
That's a unicorn thing. Oh no, never mind. Because he had hooves.
No, his helmet with the protruding.
Got it.
Oh, Lord,
I got it.
How do you not get that?
But and then his interaction with the Hulk, where you can tell, once the Hulk comes down, Loki starts shouting at him like, "I am."
Yeah, because he's all about like, I'm smarter than you. I'm noble. Like I'm a god. And you can really tell like he thinks that he's better than everybody, and he thinks that he's just he belongs king somewhere. And it's hard for him to interact with somebody who just has no no fucks given towards that kind of thing.
Yeah, and even in that first scene in Avengers where he like he kills the politicians at that party, and then he makes everybody kneel before him.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
And also in the Dark World, when him and Chris Hemsworth actually you think that as an audience member, they're teaming up, and you think that Loki betrays him. That was such a cool scene. And then you find out that he was actually like helping him out.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know, it got me. I thought Loki was just
Yeah, I
being
know.
Loki.
I was just like, really? Like 2 seconds after you uncuff him, like he's gonna betray you. And then when it turned around, so like that's how the character is. It's just like he flip flops because
You never
deep
know.
down, I feel like he does have that sort of familial bond to Thor.
He keeps the audience on their toes.
You really
at all,
don't
'cause you
ever know what he's gonna do.
You don't know his motives. You don't know what
Yeah.
he's thinking. Such a great character.
And he just tries to manipulate everybody he talks to, and it's just genius. Tom Hiddleston is just amazing. Like, they picked the perfect person for this role.
All right, you want to go to number 4?
Yes, 4.
Okay.
4.
Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Superman!
General, would you care to step outside?
Christopher Reeve as Superman.
Mr. Reeve.
It's Mr. Reed.
Oh.
Sorry, you're talking about from Liar Liar?
Yes, I was. Dang it.
It's like our favorite movie ever. Anyways,
Jim
Christopher as Superman.
So-
This had to be on here because if you think about Superman, yeah, you think about the movies. Yeah, they're dated. True. They're very dated.
Yeah.
No one's
Special
arguing
effects
that.
are,
Yeah, everything about it is dated.
For its time.
But he just 100% embodied everything that Superman is completely. You can't deny that. He truly did.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the Supermans that we've seen recently. Like, there's just no comparison. The Boy Scout, like this, he's just perfect in every possible way.
The costume also was classic Superman costume. He had the curl. He had everything going. Basically straight off the comic book pages.
Like literally straight off the comic book pages. And that's exactly why he's on this list. Because of how charming and likable his character was. I mean, if we're not talking about Superman 4, Quest for Peace. Worst movie of all time.
Cavill, in terms of like the look, Cavill is Superman as well to me. Like, he looks exactly how I want my Superman to look. He definitely has the look down. But Cavill's not on this list because of...
You guys know why Cavill's not on this list. I mean, even when he's not Superman and he's Clark Kent and he has the glasses on and he's doing his thing, he's hanging out with Lois and stuff. Like, he's so Clark Kent. The way he interacts with Lois and just everybody around him, he's just so noble. You know what I mean? Like, he's so... I don't know.
He pulls off the the clumsy, bashful character well too. In terms of
he does.
Working at the Daily Planet and just being someone, the whole Lois and Clark dynamic where she has no idea that he's Superman just because he has a pair of glasses on.
Yeah, and then the second he's in that suit, he's just like knight in shining armor, like Superman just flies her, with her in his arms and, saves millions of lives. And is just like the most charming, likable person in the history of the world. Like, you can't get any better than that.
Yeah, so we had to add Christopher Reeve as Superman.
And you know what? Just Christopher Reeve, like, his accident and stuff, like, so tragic. Like, such a sad thing to happen to such a great man.
Yeah.
And he really just...
I thought it was really cool how in Smallville they had, like, Christopher Reeve come on for a couple episodes.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
He was that professor or something.
Yeah.
And he was helping Clark out.
Yeah, such a touching, like, thing to bring him onto a Superman project like that. And I bet you it was, like, extraordinary for the cast to, be in the presence of, him. And it's just such a sad story. But, his legacy will live on through these films.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and get to number 3.
3.
I'm the best there is at what I do. But what I do best isn't very nice.
So number 3 is Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine. And Hugh Jackman as the Wolverine for centuries to come, since he is the only person who has portrayed the Wolverine for over 8 years? I don't know, it's getting up there in years. But we literally have seen Hugh Jackman play
and nobody else
the Wolverine in every single movie. You got X-Men, you got X-Men 2, you've got First Class, you've got Days of Future Past,
Last Stand,
you've got X-Men Origins, you've got that solo Wolverine movie in Japan that sucked balls.
Wait, which one?
He had his own movie. I think he was just called The Wolverine.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
That was
it
really
was-
stupid.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's like, even though these movies are bad, though, it's like when he signs on for the next one, we're just like, yep, that's the way it should be. Like he can't disappoint because it's just who he is.
And he entrenches himself into the character in terms of, the working out, getting his body ready to look super shredded.
He's fucking jacked, dude.
He gets into it and he enjoys what he does, and that comes across to the audience.
Yeah, if you ever
when
see
a actor loves what they do and we believe as the audience that they love what they do, it makes it better for us.
Like, you even see him in interviews, and since Wolverine is just a big part of his career, he's always asked about it, and every time he talks about it, he's always smiling, and he's always talking about how fun it is, and he's always talking. I mean, it's probably a lot of work to stay, to keep up with the getting his body right for that type of role, and it is probably draining to do this many films, as this kind of,
And he's not one of those actors who are like, oh yeah, I play Wolverine, in that comic book movie.
Yeah,
no, he's like,
he loves
what? I love this character.
Yeah.
He loves the character Wolverine. And it comes off
Hugh
in the way
Jackman
he
is
speaks
just,
about it.
He's such a likable guy. And because he's so likable, and because we know the kind of person that he is through interviews and cons and stuff like that, it's just when you see him as Wolverine and he's just completely Logan, you're just like, wow, dude. Not only is he
Dog tags,
a really
wife beater,
not only is he
out.
a really cool guy, but he's an amazing actor to be able to just be so
the aggression of Wolverine, the amount of aggression it takes to pull off a Wolverine, Hugh Jackman does that perfectly. The way he looks is spot on.
His little mutton chops.
Even to the hairy arms, just small details that make Wolverine beastly. Hugh Jackman just, it just encompasses the character.
And just the way that, I don't remember what movie this was, but the way that he interacts with, do you remember when he was interacting with Cyclops? When he initially comes to the
the dynamic with him,
so cool.
Between him and Cyclops,
and you know how he put up his claws and he put 2 of them down as giving the middle finger. It's just so cool.
The attitude is there.
The attitude is so there.
Oh, man.
It just works.
This is, and I mean, he will be forever Wolverine.
And it's so much so that if they were to make, I don't know, maybe 5 years down the road, if they were just to hey, you know what, the X-Men films have stopped and we want to revamp them, the person who they cast
has big shoes to
fill. And you know what? 5 years down the road, if they wanted to cast Hugh Jackman again, everybody would be like, "Yep, okay."
As Old Man Logan.
Yeah, it would. It wouldn't even be a big thing. It'd be like, okay, yeah, no, that's Wolverine. What else is new?
I mean, we never once did see him in the classic yellow and black spandex
will
costume.
They do them?
Did you know there's a picture floating around of specs from costuming from the old movies, and they actually had that outfit that he could have
that would be
worn.
So cool.
But we've seen him in the black, the all black leather jacket kind of costume, and then we've seen him in classic white tank top, the dog tags, beastly Wolverine. But as far as his costumes go, it doesn't take much to look like Wolverine.
Yeah.
But as far as acting wise and personality and attitude and all that, he's got it.
Yep, he's our number 3. All right, moving on to number 2.
Killing is making a choice. Where are they? Choose between one life or the other. Your friend, the district attorney, or his blushing bride to be. You have nothing to threaten me with. Nothing to do with all your strength. But don't worry, I'm gonna tell you where they are. Both of them. And that's the point. You'll have to choose.
Number 2 is Heath Ledger as the Joker, The Dark Knight.
Why so serious?
Okay. So this
was my best impression.
Yeah, that was a horrible Joker impression. This is on the list for obvious reasons. We actually had a discussion about this earlier as to whether or not he should be on there, because Tony thinks that if you're embodying the character,
no. Don't even
this
pull
is
that
what
out.
you said.
Don't even pull that out.
No. This is what you said.
No. I don't want you mentioning this on the podcast because this is ridiculous.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, say it, and then I'll talk after.
Okay, he said that because Heath Ledger brought a little bit of something new and different to the Joker, that he didn't think that it was a complete comic book embodiment of who the character is. And I was like, well, we have this list is for people, like I said in the beginning, that if they bring something different in, we can include them in the list. They don't have to be like just straight out of the comic book.
No,
you know what I
this
mean?
is what I was asking her. What are the parameters for our countdown? Is it going to be which superhero / villain is closest to the comics? That's what I was saying. I didn't say Heath Ledger should not appear on this list
I
because
don't
he
think
makes
that's what you said.
It's a different version of the Joker. Okay.
It is a different version, but like I said, if they're good and they're believable, they belong on this list.
And everybody
too.
knows, or it's known that my hatred towards the Nolanverse, but I can be objective. I love the Joker. I love Heath Ledger as the Joker in The Dark Knight. That was, for me, the best Batman movie out of the Nolanverse. And I literally was entertained every time, he was on screen. And sad that, we'll never, he wasn't able to, get into the third film because of, what happened and everything. But, yeah, he was the Joker for me.
Yeah, he was a Joker that we had never seen before. He was sadistic. He was evil. He had all the qualities that the Joker encompasses, but in a very, like, just insane sort of way. Because we all know that the Joker, lives for the joke. He lives for the punchline, and we all know that how much he, lives for Batman. So he had all of those qualities, but they were just more psychotic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were just more evil, inherent, like rooted in
He
evil.
almost played like a schizo / tweaker type of Joker in terms of like his mannerisms.
But he
would
was
always
so
lick his lips.
smart. He was so smart in this film too. Like I said, like Tony just said, his mannerisms were like we had never seen a Joker like this before. Like nobody has ever done that, but it worked on so many levels. Like
and talk about immersing yourself into the role.
Yeah.
Like, did you see some of the rumors at the time of his death? Rumors were out there that he put himself.
Wasn't he in solitary confinement, or didn't he
he
not
immersed himself into this role so much that he began to well, I don't want to say anything right now because, I don't want to say anything about it if it's not true.
These are just rumors. This is all speculation.
They're rumors, but that he got so much into the character that it drove him a little mad. Mm-hmm. And that, he started needing, like, sleeping pills to sleep at night and stuff like that. But,
and if that's true, like, that's dedication right there,
like I said, when actors love, take their job and their, portrayals so seriously, like it really comes off to us and we believe in that character. Did you want to talk about a little bit how he looked in comparison to, the classic Joker look?
I thought he looked pretty cool. I liked that they sort of kept his hair long and crazy like that, because sometimes we get short hair and then sometimes we get the long haired Joker with like the craziness to it.
Yeah.
A lot of volume. I really like that. And I like that
his hair too.
Yeah, I like that, he had the classic suit.
He had that receding hairline with the hair that made it look, kind of psycho.
Yeah,
too.
and also his makeup, because like the Joker we've seen before, especially like Jack Nicholson, like his makeup, whenever we saw him come in, it always looked freshly applied, and I liked how in Heath Ledger's performance,
it looked like he just slapped it on there with his hands.
Yeah,
right?
And it looked like he didn't even, like, there was no touching up. There was no needing to keep, appearances up. Like, if it came off, it came off. I thought that was, cool.
And also the mouth marks, the smile.
Yeah. The way that they did, his exaggerated smile, the story that they told, it was really cool.
And think about, the phenomena that character created. How many Jokers did we see on Halloween that year?
Oh, so many. Many.
How many Jokers dress up at Comic-Con now and try to emulate Heath's Joker? And even like how he talks, like I'm a dork. I go on YouTube and I check out Heath Ledger impressions, and they've got some people who
you do that?
Could be
I didn't know that.
Who could be in the next movie as playing Heath Ledger.
There's even a Joker that walks around the Vegas Strip now, like trying to get people to take pictures with him.
There is.
Yeah, and they're really good, but
and Heath was another one of those shock castings, just like Keaton, where people were like,
Affleck.
"Oh, he's the gay cowboy in Brokeback Mountain."
He was really good in Brokeback Mountain. One of my favorite Heath Ledger performances, by the way.
And also, we are pro Batfleck here, so you know, we always refer to, like, you know, Keaton and Heath and all this uproar. Give the guy a chance.
Give him a chance. Yeah, we had no idea what Heath Ledger was gonna do with the role, and look, he gave us something that we will never forget.
And all you people who are saying, you know what, I'm gonna wait till it comes out on Blu-ray. Well, guess what? Your ass is gonna be in the seat as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, you're gonna be
night.
right next to us. Okay, you're gonna be buying the popcorn.
You're not gonna wait till
it
comes out on Blu-ray. No, shut up. Okay. Anything else you want to say on Mr. Ledger?
Oh, and I heard that a lot of the some of the really epic scenes in that movie, or even like the small things that he did, they weren't written in the script. They were just ad-libbed by Ledger himself. Like in the scene where the hospital's blowing up, like the way he walks away, and like I think like the button was supposed to like go off or something. Something was supposed to happen, and like the way he like fidgeted with it.
Best moments
those are some of the Joker's best moments, and the fact that Ledger did that on the fly, like it's just it's amazing to me.
Yeah, what's that word? Michael Scott, you know, when he takes classes for it.
Improv?
Like, there you go.
Michael Scott.
When things are improv like that, you know, it really just adds to the character. And actually, the next actor who we're going to get to as our number one does a lot of that. Did you want to go ahead and get to our number one?
Are we done with Heath? God rest his soul.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything else about him?
In terms of what can happen to this character now that he's passed, I don't know if they're ever gonna. I mean, they're going to do it because the Joker is just a guaranteed moneymaker. But the Joker coming back into a movie is going to be really hard to get over what we'd already seen. You know, it's going to be hard to not forget, but like try and, you know, welcome a new actor or, you know, portrayal of this character because we fell in love with this one. Number one's next.
1.
I never said you were a superhero.
Didn't? Well, good, because that would be outlandish and fantastic. I'm just not the hero type, clearly, with this laundry list of character defects, all the mistakes I made, largely public. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Number one.
Iron Man.
No, let me say it.
Go.
Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark.
I said
Iron
it wrong
Man.
too. I said
Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and the Avengers.
So when comic books are actually stealing off of the character of Robert Downey Jr., you know you've made it big.
Yeah, when they're taking aspects of the actor to incorporate into the story of
into
the
character,
comics, into the comic movies, like you know that you've got the perfect guy. Pretty
First
much.
moment I laid eyes on Iron Man 1 and I heard, you know, and I watched Robert Downey Jr. portray Tony Stark, I was like, oh my god.
Like when he's like in the Humvee, you know, when he's in the desert, like that first scene before he gets like captured. It's like automatically like this is Tony Stark. Like it was perfect. It took maybe like 30 seconds of him on film to convince me. And you know,
like, and it's one of those things where you know that Robert Downey was born for this role. Like there could have been no other. I mean, yeah, actors could have tried to play Tony Stark, but it just wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah, it really. It's amazing.
From his quirky personality to his, you know, sarcastic wit to his improv that he adds, you know, to each and every line. I don't know how much improv they allow him to.
He's just so likable. He's likable as Tony Stark. And also, if you're looking at the Avengers, his back and forth between Steve Rogers is hilarious.
Yeah, I was excited for that before.
Because they're two contrasting, like, super opposite people in everything that they sort of stand for. And it's just really funny to see him as, like, being a member of this team, you know, because he's such a I'm Iron Man type of guy, you know, like he's such a singular sort
yeah,
of...
in the first movie, you get it right away at the end where, you know, most superheroes are, like, concerned about concealing their identity. And he just comes up and says, you know what?
Like...
I'm Iron Man. And you know what? I don't give a fuck if you know about it.
Yeah, and he's just so funny as a team member because he's so just like the main event, you know, like in his world and in his own mind, you know, like he's the best of the best. So like watching him as a part of the Avengers was a real treat for.
And then also the character of Tony Stark, we all know, goes through a spurt of where he has alcoholism, where he's an alcoholic, and in real life, Robert Downey Jr. was dealing with that.
Yeah, I know. He was a huge addict.
Talk about mirroring a character that you're portraying.
It's literally a perfect person to pick to do this.
Yeah.
He doesn't fall short anywhere. I mean, yeah, some of the movies, me and Tony we had a little bit of problems.
Iron Man 1, great. Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, really.
Avengers, awesome.
Iron Man 3 was one that we really disliked. And it, partly because...
It had nothing to do with him, though. It had nothing to do with Tony Stark.
A little bit. I'm not going to say that.
Why? Because he didn't spend enough time in a suit?
We can... That's going to have his own podcast for itself. Yeah. But anyway, let's not take away from Mr. Downey Jr. So to me, he is well deserving of being number one just because he is Iron Man.
He really is. And... every time he's on screen, even with the big names that he was casted in the Avengers, like every time he was on screen, he made you laugh, like his one-liners, his constant references to other, facets of pop culture.
It can get to be too much at times, but
he knows when to stop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's awesome. I don't think I can say more good things about this guy.
Okay, so that is our number one. At this point, we're going to get to a couple honorable mentions, and then we'll be on our way.
So one of my honorable mentions was actually Michelle Pfeiffer as Selena Kyle in Batman Returns. I love this character. I love it. She's sexy. She's sexy. She's sexy.
Sound like Austin Powers. Faja.
Austin Powers. We always reference Austin Powers.
Okay, go.
Yeah, she's sexy. Oh my God, she's sexy. She's sadistic. Her costume is perfect. Like she's the Catwoman I see like in my dreams.
And I didn't really want her on this list. That's why she's an honorable mention, just because she was I thought was like a little too far away from the actual character of Catwoman.
I mean, yeah, but I think for that movie that it completely worked. I loved her costume. I loved everything about her.
Oh, believe me, I loved her costume too. I'm not saying her costume was bad.
Okay, so she's an honorable mention.
Okay, who's next?
Another one, James Marsden as Cyclops.
That was one of mine, James Marsden as Cyclops, because I thought he played the ultimate dick, and he played it well.
Yeah, he was really cool.
In terms of, him being jealous of Jean Grey, and his back and forth with Wolverine. Like, he looked like him with the visor and everything, and he played like an asshole and a dick.
The chemistry
really well.
that him and Logan had together as sort of in the beginning when they're rivaling each other, that was really cool.
Yeah, and Cyclops is pretty much the ultimate prick when it comes to Logan and their relationship, at first anyway. But go ahead.
Next, we have Chris Evans as the Human Torch.
This was one of mine, and I know he's good as Captain America, and I believe in him as Captain America now. But in the past, like when he was the Human Torch, he was Johnny Storm.
He was Johnny Storm.
Like,
he was the only thing about those movies that were good.
Yeah. In terms of being the hothead.
He was the only one you wanted to see on screen. He's the only one that you cared about on the team. I mean, God, nobody cared about Sue Storm.
Anyway, yeah. So I think he deserves to be one of the honorable mentions at least.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Go ahead.
And last but not least, Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier.
Okay, go ahead. This is yours, right?
You know what? We had a conversation about this. Tony thought that the role of Professor Xavier was quote unquote too easy.
It is too ezy.
You just need to be bald and you need to, work in a wheelchair.
Yes, you just have to be bald.
Which is not true at all.
And then just be in a wheelchair and you look like Professor X.
No. Patrick Stewart and his relationship with Sir Ian McKellen.
What movie was it where they had some guy walking around and they were told him to go ask for Professor X? At like a school, was it South Park episode?
Oh no! It was crap.
I forgot. If you guys know what we're talking about, tweet us and help us out. It was something where, it was like a joke towards two people trying to do a job or something, and he was like, "Yeah, you have to go to this guy named Professor X at this school," and then they actually found some guy whose name was Professor.
Wasn't it was it 21 Drum Street? No,
It might have been.
I don't know. But yeah,
Okay.
they're going all around looking for like Professor X, and the guy's actually in a wheelchair. Isn't it? It's so funny.
Yeah.
But no, Patrick Stewart was like awesome. He's just so regal. Every time he speaks, he's so noble. And you had somebody like that in the film already, which was Serena McKellen. But the way that they were on screen is just. I was completely sold.
And I know this one's not on there, but I want to talk about it real quick. It's just Michael Chiklis as the Thing. I thought he was good as the Thing, in terms of how he portrayed the character, like he's the way his attitude was and how he's like brooding and stuff. I just think that he did a good job in that movie, even though the movie sucked overall.
Yeah.
In terms of being a little bit too kid friendly sometimes, but Michael Chiklis as the Thing was one of my honorable mentions as well. All right, we had a fun time going over this list for you guys today.
Yeah, and remember, these are all of our opinions, so if you don't agree,
we want your feedback too. So if you disagree or if you think somebody should be up there,
don't be too harsh.
No, you guys can be harsh. We take it.
You can be harsh to him, not to me. I'm a girl.
She's a girl.
I'm a girl.
Okay, be harsh to me.
But yeah, if you guys enjoy this podcast, we would love to do a worst superhero, supervillain portrayals of all time. I think that would be really fun.
But go ahead and hit us up on Instagram. It's Epic Comic Picks or Epic Comic Cast. Then you have, Facebook, Tumblr, all that stuff. It's all Epic Comic Cast.
Go to our website, epiccomiccast.com if you to view all of our previous casts and our fan artist of the month.
Get those reviews in on iTunes. It really helps out the show. And also we read your guys' reviews, the 5-star ones, anyway, on air each and every week. So, go ahead and check out.
And thank you for listening. Okay,
Yeah.
we didn't really think that this podcast would really go anywhere, but the fact that people are listening to us is amazing to me. And we just want to say thanks and keep listening.
Oh, and sorry for no mailbag today. We kind of ran a little bit long with the countdown.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get to one next week though. But all right, so
You have anything else to say?
no, go ahead and sign us off.
All right, I'm Karina Michelle.
And I'm TC.
Have a great day.